Welcome to the football show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. I'm Peter Martin, Alan Ruff, McManus with me, and I'm delighted to say that Livingston's Cammy K has joined us in the studio to look back over the weekend's fixtures. There's so much to talk about with so many managers giving us their thoughts on their team's performance on the opening day of the season. Over and above that, of course, we will tell you right now that Monday to Friday, the football show is absolutely free for you. But there is something that you can get involved in, which is PLZ Premium, offering you even more extensive and exclusive content. And we're giving away some fabulous prizes, as Kerry Pollock now explains.
Subscribe to PLZ Premium today and you will be in our prize draw to win this fabulous Scott McTominay replica Napoli shirt. PLZ Premium is offering additional content from your favourite football channel. Subscribe to PLZ Premium today and you'll be in with a chance of winning this fabulous football shirt.
Yeah, thanks to Kerry. Chance to win the shirt at Napoli. He had some season last season, Tam. It was incredible.
Yeah, he did. It's a great prize for somebody to win. Obviously, first Scottish player to win the Serie A, him and Billy Gilmour. So I'm sure that will be a lot of football supporters would love that jersey.
Absolutely. Thank you so much to so many of you who've joined us and supported us over last season and back with us this year. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button on the YouTube channel. And of course, if you want premium, you can hit it on the main YouTube channel as well. Lots of news before we get into the meat and bones of the games. Ryan Porteous has just signed for LAFC. Rangers have signed Oliver Antman on a 4-year deal from Go Ahead Eagles. And the news just coming out with regards to the Champions League playoff round. Celtic will play the winner of Kairat Almaty or Slovan Bratislava. Whoever wins that game will come up against Brendan Rodgers' side for a place in the group stages. If Rangers get past Victoria Pilsen, they'll play the winner of Club Brugge versus Salzburg. And as far as the other competitions in Europe, Aberdeen were drawn against FCSB or Drita in the Europa League playoff round. If Hibs beat Partizan Belgrade over the two legs in their Conference League third round, they'll play in a playoff against either Legia Warsaw or AEK Larnaca. And finally, if Dundee United beat Rapid Vienna, they'll play AEK Stockholm or FC Győr in the playoff. I hope you've followed all of that. Ruffy, if you'd just like to repeat that for us, that'd be absolutely magnificent.
Well, I think of all the teams, I think Rangers probably get the hardest one. If they qualify, I think the Celtic will be happy with that draw that they've got. There were other teams bigger than that that were in the draw, so I think they'll be quietly happy to see that one.
Yeah, before we get into the first game that we're going to talk about, Cammy, great to have you with us. Of course, I can't believe it. Yesterday I'm at Den's, Tam, and I said, "Where are you?" And he said, "The door doesn't open until 2 o'clock. I said, "You're a Dundee legend. Surely they let you in early, for God's sake." I mean, surely a guy who's had a testimonial, Ruffy, was it 270 odd appearances for Dundee?
270 odd, yeah. So, delighted to obviously made them, but still couldn't get in before 2 o'clock yesterday.
What did it feel? What does it feel like? Here's the great thing about it. What does it feel like if when you're a boy and you're a Dundee fan and suddenly you get the chance to play for your boyhood heroes?
Oh yeah, like obviously it's easy to say it's an incredible feeling, but it never really sunk in for me. I was kind of in awe all the time coming in, training with the team that you love, and eventually get to play with them after being a season ticket holder and to go on and. I'd like to say I made some great achievements there, obviously my testimonial, a few league winners' medals, etc. And meeting some great professionals along the way to learn off has probably been one of the biggest things I've had in my career.
Yeah, well, from somebody like yourself, over 270 odd appearances for Dundee. In contrast, Tam played at Dundee as well. Now, Cammy has a testimonial. Just give us a flavour of the players that played in your testimonial.
Yeah, no, I was really lucky to obviously have the players we had. I'm trying to go through them: Julian Speroni, Barry Smith, Juan Zara, Fabian Caballero, the Benettis, both Benettis were there. We got to even have people like, obviously, people I grew up with Paul McGowan, James McPake, Jockey Scott as the manager. I hope I've not missed anyone out.
Even Juan Zara was he's a good striker, wasn't he?
Yeah, that was a team that I played against with Nimzadze and Barry Smith was there and Big Lee Wilkie and stuff like that. That was like a really, really strong Dundee team, a bit of cash behind them. I don't know if that was a team that went into administration or the one I was there. They went into administration a couple of times.
They had a bit of cash behind them to start with, and then suddenly nothing. But the other thing I was going to say to you is, if you ask any Dundee fan of a certain vintage, Caballero was just a hero to them.
Yeah, definitely. Like when me growing up as a season ticket holder, he was one of the fans' favourites that everyone loved when he scored. The song came on, the fans used to sing that. So that's a fond memory that I have of him. So yeah, he was an incredible player.
Yeah, you're now at Livingston. Obviously, you've got an injury that you're trying to come back from. What's the diagnosis?
Yeah, no, I'm not too far away. I'll be honest. I've barely had an injury in my whole career, and I've had kind of pubic problems over the last 7 to 9 months. It's been difficult. It's not been easy. I've had to get an operation, but I'm through the worst of it now. I had a slight setback at the start of the season. But I'm feeling like I'm getting on the right track now, and I'm hoping in the next 4 to 6 weeks I'll be back involved. It's just, as you say, been a tough time, but loads of players have been through it. It's just it has been incredibly tough, but I'll get there.
We love David Martindale in the studio. Yeah. What do you make of him?
No, he's been brilliant. I think the big thing with me is he's honest, and he tells you how it is, and I think that's the way it should be. I don't think there's enough people in football like that are honest, and I think a lot of people are starting to come round, and he doesn't. I don't think he gets enough credit at times, but he's been certainly good with me so far. Yeah,
we're going to talk about Davy Martindale's Livingston shortly and their draw with Kilmarnock, but to Fir Park, where of course Scottish football, it's the game and the sport that keeps on giving. What do you make of it, Ruffy? Motherwell won, Rangers won.
Yeah, I think the first half, I think Motherwell gave Rangers a wee bit too much of the ball. I think they gave them. It's a big game, the first game of the season, particularly at home. I think the second half, they really got their act together and gave Rangers a bit of a game. I think they did deserve the draw. A lot of people would say maybe deserved the win in the end, the couple of chances they had at the end. But it was amazing, the sort of a fallout from the Rangers manager after the game.
Yeah, this is what Russell Martin had to say.
When it's going well, you're all in. You want to run, you want the ball is nice, but when it's not going well, don't want to run so much. You pick and choose when you want to run. You pick and choose when you want to compete and mark your player from a throw-in or a corner. You pick and choose when to run back, and it's unacceptable for this football club. And for us, the coaching staff, it's just not acceptable. So loads of teaming problems, the same, like in terms of tactically that previous clubs have been at and all that stuff. There's always going to be, we're 6 weeks in, so there will be issues. But the issue today is purely is mentality. So too much ego, too much self-preservation, and you're either all in all the time or you're not. And if you're not, you just won't play very much.
Well, scathing to say the very least. I mean, he opened up on Sky Sports saying some players need to drop their ego.
Yeah, it was an interesting interview, Peter. I think that it's one that the fans would have liked to hear. I think that the supporters would have looked at it and agreed with the manager, but I'm trying to put myself into the dressing room, into the players' position, and I'm not so sure coming out with that right away is the right thing from Russell Martin. I think particularly he mentioned a couple of players. He said 2 players, and then he praised the 2 subs that come on. I think it was Lyle Cameron come on and Dessers come on. So I think he's basically talking about the 2 guys that come off. So I'm not so sure from a player's point of view that you want to hear that from your manager right off the bat, but I think that the Rangers supporters will wholeheartedly agree with what he said. I thought they were really, really poor, Peter. I thought first half they started well, but second half they done nothing. And Motherwell had created opportunities. They got their reward in the end, and then again, towards the end, Jack Butland's a great save. So, I mean, I read a stat the other day that in the last 3 games, Rangers have faced something like 54 shots. In 3 games, that's far too many shots at your goal, and I think they're too open. And I think it's something that he needs to look at, particularly when he took the Raskin off and he took Diomande off. I thought they looked wide open in the middle of the park. The way he wants to play is expansive, but I think better teams will punish them.
Cammy, you'll know better than anybody. Sometimes if Celtic and Rangers don't win the game, most people talk about the crisis of what has unfolded rather than paying a compliment to the team that have either got a draw or a win. Motherwell played some really good football.
They did, and it looks like they're going to be brave in the way that they're going to play. They've obviously got a new manager in that's going to stick to, well, you hope he's going to stick to his guns if that's the way they're going to play it. And especially second half, as the boys have touched on, they had some great chances. And on another day, they could have went in. But I think Motherwell certainly were a good watch at the weekend. So I expect good things from them, to be fair.
Yeah, this is what Jens Bertel Eskau had to say after that 1-1 draw.
See anyone taking the foot off the pedal and thinking, oh, that was it. I was trying to find someone to sub, but it was hard to choose which one because everyone was really top performing and doing their best and could still run. So we decided to make a late change where we saw we were probably not going to score from a late create situation where we played them down and had a lot of crosses in the box, so we got an extra runner on the pitch.
Here's the stats, Ruffy. Motherwell had 17 shots, Rangers had 15. Both of them had 5 on target. The possession was 64% to Rangers, which in the end doesn't really count for a lot. The man of the match was Elliot Watt, and I looked at the stats that came up for him. Touches 72, final third passes 19, tackles 4, possession 111, interception 6. He ranked first in every category. Now, if you're a Rangers player, that's the stats that I think Russell Martin is alluding to.
Yeah, I think it is. You know, I think he's obviously, Russell is looking at his team, and Tam's right. You know, if he's identifying the failures in the team, it was the 2 that he took off first. You know, they're the ones that obviously were the engine room of the Rangers team that never worked, and it just shows you the work rate that the Motherwell boys were putting in, and that boy in particular that you're talking about. He wanted on the ball all the time. He wanted to make things happen. You know, and that's something that Rangers didn't have on the day.
I'm looking and saying, well, if you're talking about Lyle Cameron and then you're talking about Cyril Dessers, who potentially could be heading out the door before this window closes, Tam, you don't have a lot of options up front. I mean, it's not as if this was a shock to the system. They weren't great against Panathinaikos, home or away. You know, Panathinaikos, I thought, in front of goal were absolutely woeful. So it's been coming. You know, for him to make that sort of statement, you know, leaves you wide open. I mean, I looked at the goal from James Tavernier from a set piece, poor marking from Motherwell. He scored 131 goals. He usually gets it in the neck first, but there was that many in front of him that were poor.
Yeah, he scored the goal, Peter, but I thought he was poor at Motherwell's goal. I thought he was weak. He was weak defending when the boy cut inside him. You know, and for me, the full-back areas are still a big issue for Rangers. You know, you're playing Max Aarons on the left. I think he looks like a fish out of water on the left. I think he's a right back, and I would switch him to right back. But then your captain's right back, so do you drop your captain? So it's going to be...
drop anybody, surely, until you get what you want as a team.
Yeah, but listen, James Tavernier's a great servant for Rangers, but I'm surprised that he's still there, and I'm surprised that he's still the captain. I think if you're bringing Max Aarons in as a right back, you're going to play him right back. So I just don't think the balance was right in the full-back areas for Rangers. Kieran Dowell seems to be a favourite with Russell Martin as well. I don't really see it with him. And Danilo up front as well, Peter Poor. You know, I think Rangers looked a better team during the week against the Panathinaikos when Dessers come on, and again at the weekend. You know, Dessers, he mentioned after the game, was the only player they've had a bid for, and he's still running hard and putting the shift in, and he's basically calling out the other players for not doing it. So, yeah, I think Dessers is a big player for Rangers, and I do think that they should be looking to keep him, because if they take him out that team, Peter, I don't see somebody getting 20-25 goals out with Dessers in that Rangers squad at the minute.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing about it. It certainly doesn't look like Danilo, Ruffy. I'm looking at the young boy coming in on loan from Spurs, Mikey Moore. He's 17 years of age. That's a lot to think that he's going to come in and make a huge difference, unless he suddenly hits the ground running alongside Oliver Antman and becomes a superstar. Yeah,
well, we saw this happening quite a lot, particularly at Rangers, where they identify a young boy for down south and rave reviews at the team that he's at, and they come up and they do particularly well early on, but they never really know the expectation of what you're led to believe is going to happen. So until we actually see him and see what he does on the park, but it is very, very young for a team of that age to throw him in there, because obviously one of the other things that Russell Barton touched on is the Rangers team are good when they're winning, but when they're not winning, you know, people are getting into a shell. And that's not the first time that's happened year in, year out with Rangers. Now, when you're winning 2-3-0, everybody wants on the ball, you look great, the fans are behind. But when the fans aren't behind you and, you know, you go under pressure, there's far too many Rangers players going into a shell.
Yeah, he's under pressure right now because you have Victoria Pilsen on the horizon as well, Ruffy.
Yeah, he has. You know, it's another game. But again, Rangers have stepped up to the plate in European football, good or bad. But they always seem to get over it. And it's a tie that they need to go over. He can't have the supporters booing at the end of every game. So it needs to be a positive result.
Yeah, difficult to say because we're still to see Victoria Pilsen in the flesh to see what their strengths and weaknesses are. But on the evidence of what you're watching right now, can you see Rangers making the Champions League group stages?
Yeah, I think I can. I don't think this is a massively big team they're coming up against. You know, they've got a wee bit of pedigree in Europe, but I think Rangers should be able to take care of them.
Yeah, if you've got to be fair to what, and I think sometimes we are guilty in Scotland of knee-jerk reaction, Tam. If you've got to be fair to every manager and say, well, they need time. I mean, we were watching Dundee yesterday, and boy, you know, up at Dundee, Stephen Presley saying he needs 6 players. Russell Martin's got basically till September the 1st to try and get as many in as he possibly can and change it around if he thinks these people that are playing at the starting lineup at the moment are slackers.
Yeah, I think he'd have learned a lot about that game and a lot about his players at the weekend. I think that he's clearly not been happy with people's performance and the work rate they're putting in. I think you can always have a poor game as a player, but if you're not working hard, then I think that's a big bugbear for supporters and for managers, and there's no hiding place now. Cammy will tell you everybody's got the GPS vests on, so you can tell how many kilometres you've ran and your sprints and everything that comes with that, Peter. So there's no hiding from that, and I'm sure players would go in and say, well, I was working hard, and they'll just have the stats going, well, there's your stats, so you weren't. So you can't get away with that now, and I think Rangers will blink. Obviously they brought in the boy Antman today. They brought Mikey Moore in. There's 2 in the forward areas. I do think they need a bit of pace in the forward areas, Peter, because, as I said, Kieran Dowell, Danilo, they're not going to threaten you in behind. And I think these 2 players that have come in will. And I think that they need to add a wee bit of pace and mobility in the forward areas.
Give us your thoughts on Rangers. Too early to say. I don't think any Rangers fan would like to see a table which has Celtic 2 points ahead already. But that's the way it looks at the moment after Celtic late on eventually defeated St Mirren by 1-0. And I would imagine you'll be waxing lyrical about your old teammate because he popped up with a goal. How good is he? And do you think he could be a regular, Luke McCowan, in that Celtic lineup?
Yeah, I think he can be. I think was it on the TV yesterday? They said that I think he had 7 goals, 9 assists since he signed before yesterday. He's a top player, and I know Celtic fan. That's not part of it, but he'll be loving that. He's got that responsibility now. When he comes on, he's been a game changer in the games that he's had, and I think he's definitely in contention to be a starter. I know they've got a massive squad. Rotation, etc. is always spoken about now, but he can definitely step up because he's a top player, and he's certainly got a good mentality to go to the top. Yeah,
they left it late, Ruffy, didn't they?
Left it late, but if you look at the game as a whole, you know, on any other given day, that could have been 3 or 4-0. You know, the goalkeeper had some tremendous saves. Again, the possession of the ball was 72%. You know, and you have to give St Mirren credit. They were organised right through, 5 at the back. They got everybody in the box. They know when Celtic get the ball wide, it's going to be fired in for both areas, and they defended that well. But I think they got away with it a couple of times. I never seen, you know, St Mirren getting anything out of that game. But the longer the game went, you know, obviously you get a wee bit anxious. But again, Brendan Rodgers, he just waits to 65 minutes and goes, right, you 4 off, and then another 4 quality come on, and that quality that comes on generally turns the game. It happened last year so many times that the guys who come on were the match winners.
Yeah. Are we witnessing Brendan's last dance this year?
Yeah, I think it was last season, Peter, at Celtic. I don't think there's any doubt about that. You know, you can. He's not saying it at the minute, but he's clearly unhappy with the funds he's been given to bring players in, and that's a big issue. He's ambitious. He wants to push to the next level at Celtic. I spoke about in the show on Friday, Peter, how much money is that going to take for Celtic to get to the next level? For me, it's a lot of money, and it's something that Celtic have never really done. You know, they've stayed within their means and they've ran the club properly. So Just going back to the game, yeah, I did say on Friday that I thought St Mirren with the four or five games in the League Cup was a big advantage for them because I'm playing competitive games and Celtic have been playing friendlies, and I think you've seen a lack of sharpness maybe in the final third for Celtic and among some other players, but I always felt Celtic would score, as Ruffy said, when you're bringing 3 or 4 off and bringing 3 or 4 on, it's difficult for the smaller clubs to see that out for 90 plus minutes, and I think it was just a matter of time before Celtic get the winner, but fair play to St Mirren, they defended really well, and another feather on Stephen Robinson's cap. I know they lost the game, but just to see how organised his team was, he's clearly a really talented manager for me.
Yeah, and the other thing, Ruffy, is obviously Cammy will be well aware of this. Everybody, when you pick up injuries, people start looking at you the minute you go down. 65 minutes, Kieran Tierney, everybody's heart in their mouth thinking, oh, he's picked up another injury.
Yeah, it seemed to be just a hamstring. You know, it looked as if he was just tired with what he'd put in the game, and Celtic were very quick to come out and say, look, it isn't going to be long term. But yeah, like you, I'm sure a lot of the Celtic supporters will be anxious to see if he turns up in the next game.
Tam makes a good point, which is sometimes early in the season, though, if you get a run of games, you know, you've got that sharpness of match day games continually. St Mirren, they threatened with one shot from a bit of distance, but other than that, they still would have been sharper than Celtic.
Yeah, Tam's spot on. I think as soon as you get into that mindset of the competitive games, it's night and day to friendlies. You've got that kind of pre-match nerves, your mindset for the game's totally different. And obviously St Mirren have been in that habit, obviously with the League Cup games, and Celtic haven't. But again, I go back to Stephen Robinson's team, they're so well set up. I really do credit that, and you know, you have to do that when you go to Celtic Park. There's a very few teams that have come out and had a go and ended up getting a result. You probably do have to nick it on the break, which obviously they didn't. But I do. Stephen Robinson seems like he's got them working really good again this year.
Yeah, if you listen to people who are at the game, if you're talking about you know, players that should be trying to make an impression, Ruffy, and they slogged at it to try and get the goal. Callum McGregor had one, incidentally, ruled off for a handball. Did they get that right?
Well, it's supposed to be below the sleeve, or you know, if it's above. I thought it actually hit him in the elbow. But again, there was a couple of occasions in the other games. There was a couple of things that were worse than that one, and they weren't pulled up for it. So again, it's VAR making that decision. I don't know what pilot was in the studio at the weekend.
Well remembered, Ruffy, well remembered. Tom Cruise got it wrong. I thought it was a handball, but what did you think, Tom?
I thought it maybe came off the St Mirren player's hand first, but I was listening, it was just a ricochet, and the ball broke to him and he put it in the net. I can understand why they chopped it off, but there was still enough time for Celtic to go on and win the game. But if they didn't get the winner, I think you'd have been hearing a lot more about it this morning, about Don Robertson from the Celtic fans. But I think probably a right decision.
Yeah. Do you think, Ruffy, it's his last season?
I think by the end of the month we'll know.
Yeah.
You know what comes in. We don't know.
He's
obviously put a bit of paper on the table at that board and said, look, these are the 3 guys I want, and if I don't get them at the end of the month,
yeah,
hell be it.
It's the last year.
Yeah.
I think he'll go.
It's a bad thing to put out there, you know, if it is going to be his last season, because I remember a few seasons ago, Walter Smith said he was leaving.
Yeah, the end of the 9 in a row.
It was halfway through the season he identified it, didn't he? He said, and
he had won 9 in a row, and then it was the next season.
And he identified him leaving, and everything went downhill after that. So I don't think they want that notion to come out very, very hard.
Yeah. In the managers' club, they always like to pay a tribute to each other and the efforts of their side. This is what Brendan Rodgers had to say after that 1-0 narrow win. I have a big admiration for Stephen Robinson to qualify for Europe in the last 3 seasons. It's a great effort by him and his staff and his players. His teams are well organised. But for us, this is our first game at home, and we really want to lay a marker down in terms of how we want to perform this season. We want to put on a performance, get the points, and then move on to the next one, which is what they did. So that's what he had to say. As far as Stephen Robinson's concerned, this is what he made of the overall game. It was disappointing because we lost to a deflection. I think our performance levels showed in the Celtic we are trying to waste time in the last that Celtic were trying to waste time in the last 5 minutes of the match. Defensively, I thought we were superb. People obviously, with regards to the performance, use that as a slight against St Mirren, but that is one of the basics of management. Get your team organised. Celtic are signing players that are ready to go. We are not replacing like for like and starting another cycle again. So you can understand both managers coming at it from different angles here, Cammy.
Yeah, definitely. I think it shows kind of the mutual respect they've got for one another. Brendan, obviously, speaking highly of Stephen Robinson, but I think that's a fundamental of what obviously Robinson's mentioned as being organised, and I think it's overlooked at times by a lot of people, and I think he's nailed it on the head there, to be fair.
Yeah, the other thing I was going to say to you, Tam, regardless of everybody talking about it, I mean, one of the liveliest players yet again, James Forrest, comes on, makes a real impression on the game. I mean, I don't think anybody can write off James Forrest making a contribution. As Ruffy said, if it's 65 minutes onwards, I think the only big worry for James Forrest is when he gets back to his house, has he got enough cabinets to house all these medals?
Yeah, he's still got a lot to offer, Peter. He's a handy sub to bring on. You've seen it in the last game of the season when he came on and scored the last minute equaliser against St Mirren. To keep his record up, we've scored in every season for Celtic. So he's still fit as a fiddle, and he causes problems. He's such a clever player, and I think with him coming on and Engels and that coming on, they did get a little bit of a boost, and they started to get a bit more pressure on the St Mirren back five. But yeah, I thought he came on and done well. I think he's still got a lot to offer, but I still think that Celtic need to bring in another, probably two wingers.
Yeah. What about the centre back? Jamai Simpson-Poussey, he's going to come in on loan from Manchester City. So that's one area where I think clubs like Celtic and Rangers have to at times look for loan deals from players who maybe are surplus to huge squads down south in the Premier League. I think that's a good plan of action for both clubs, because you know exactly that there's a big drain on resources. You maybe can't afford those big players that you're talking about that you don't believe Celtic are going to shell out on.
Yeah, he's a good player. I've seen him a couple of times at Man City. He's very, very good on the ball, and I think that's what Celtic need. As we all know, teams play one up against Celtic home and away, and you need to be good on the ball as a centre back at Celtic to bring the ball out and try and create overloads in the middle of the pitch. So yeah, he's a good player with a good pedigree from Man City, and I think he'll come in. Interesting that Scale started before Trusty. £6 million. It's one of the ones. Is he going to see Brendan's cup of tea because he's been kind of in and out the team a wee bit for that sort of money?
Yeah, well, I mean, on that basis, and I've got to ask you, Ruffy, sometimes even at 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 million, you get players that are just not cutting it. And I think a lot of Celtic fans out there are looking and saying, got to be convinced about Trusty. Is he going to play? Is he going to be looking elsewhere if he's not getting a game ahead of Liam Scales? And what about Adam Ida? Because he might have the number 9 shirt, but he looks far from the finished article.
Yeah, he does. But fortunately for Celtic, they're never under the cosh, and at home, the home games, they're never backs the wall. You're not looking at the centre half being the star man, So I think Trusty's got time in his hands in that one. I think he's still quite relatively young. But again, it's the more, any manager will tell you, the more positions you've got filled, the better. And certainly these guys seem to pick up, particularly Ingers. Cameron Vickers picks up an injury here and there. So the more centre halves you can get, the better.
Yep, okay. Robert says on our feed on YouTube, 9 million for Ida and £6 million for Trusty, a waste of money. Only time will tell, but whether they can offload them and get the same amount of money is open to debate. This is the Football Show. It's absolutely free to watch 5 days a week, and we're delighted you can join us. We've got Cammy K from Livingston in here with us, and we will have so many more guests along the way. Brian Graham joining us on the Football Show tomorrow with Kerry and Ruffy, and there's lots more guests and lots more legends coming on as well, because if you subscribe to PLZ Soccer's premium service, you'll get a lot of great additional content, prizes and some gifts as well for signing up. So that's all to look forward to. As far as today's concerned, looking back over the weekend, we've discussed Celtic and Rangers. What about Killie 2, Livingston 2? What did you make of, first of all, does a red card change the game, Ruffy, and get Davy a lifeline back into it?
I think, of course, it does. I think if you look at the game when Kilmarnock were on top, you know, you would have thought they'd have seen the game out. I personally thought the decision was wrong. I thought there was a foul
on your head.
Yeah, I thought there was a foul before it went in the box. Interesting that VAR only picked up the second movement of the incident, and it cost the guy a red card. But no, I thought he was fouled before they went in the box.
Okay, Cammy, at any stage you just want to go over the top, you get shinies. Shinies onto that level. Just go in with it. It doesn't matter. It's fine. George Danger, red card.
Yeah, I probably agree with Ruffy. I thought it was.
I
thought he pulled his jet. I thought
there was a wee tuck
the
before
first incident was the boy gets in.
I thought it was harsh, Peter. And listen, Kilmarnock 2-0 up at that point, you know, comfortable in the game. Livingston get the penalty 2-1, and then all of a sudden the momentum totally shifts, and Livingston could have won it near the end. You know, the couple of opportunities. So I think overall both managers will be happy. You never want to lose your first league game, and for Livingston, first game back in the Premier League, to go down there and get a draw is a decent result. And Kilmarnock, you know, will be disappointed never won the game, but that's a point as well. So yeah, I think probably a fair result in the end.
I'm not going to ask Cammy about that, because as soon as he gets fit, if he says the wrong thing, you might never see a Livingston jersey. But this is as you would expect, Stuart Kettlewell far from happy. This is what he made of it, and David Martindale.
Is it a red card? Listen, we'll all debate it. Some will think it is. Just spoke to a few people downstairs, not of Kilmarnock persuasion, that probably felt it was soft at best, and I probably sit in that camp. I feel it's really, really soft.
But when you watched it back, I thought it was in real time, but you don't know. You're nearly guessing. And then when we watched it back, it was clear that it was a penalty, and it was clear that it was a sending off. I'd actually forgot, because I knew there was a VAR check going on, but so I was so involved, not expecting the VAR check to be a wee bit quicker. Would that be fair to say?
A wee bit quicker. It was about 2.5 minutes. The decision. That's the thing that I think annoys most people, Cam.
Yeah, it's like when you even score a goal, you can't always celebrate because you're worried that you're going to make an embarrassment of yourself. Not that I'd score very often, but yeah, all these things are just, I don't know. I think it's just ruining the game. It sounds so basic and almost old school, but I just think all these wee decisions are just ruining the game a wee bit.
Yeah.
I think it's...
You don't worry about being old school. Cammy and I were talking about before we come on here, Ruffy, and it's something we're going to discuss with regards to the Dundee Hibs game as well, but we saw it in evidence against Motherwell. This whole obsession, and again, listen, fair play, if you've got players that can play it out along the 6-yard area. I mean, Jens Berl Eskau wants Motherwell to play along that 6-yard area. It's a bit hear him, scare him. It's a bit Ange Postecoglou, isn't it?
I think you've got to have the players to do it, Peter, and you've got to have the patience from the supporters and the board for you to do it as well. And I've seen Motherwell a couple of times in the League Cup fixtures, and they tried to play out. They were playing against low league opposition, and I was interested to see, okay, they've got Rangers live in Sky in the first game, they're going to do the same, and they did.
Yeah.
And I think the Rangers manager mentioned it after the game when he said that they were braver than us, and I think they were. Motherwell were really brave, and at times there was gas for the crowd because they were trying to play out the goalkeeper, but they done it well, and the more they do it and the more results they get, the more confident they'll get, and I think he's going to stick with that. So it is hear him, scare him to watch for supporters, but you want to see teams try to play. You know, you don't want to see teams just launching it up the park. You want to see teams try to play, and even Livingston is playing football as well. We've seen a wee bit of them last season. I think Davey is trying to change his style as well and try to play more football along the ground.
Yeah, the only thing about it, Robbie, I would say to you is, I've seen managers down through the years who obviously look at the absolute elite teams playing it, and I quite like the idea of Pep Guardiola saying, listen, I know, Victor, you're the goalie. I want you to play it to Eric Abidal. Yeah. He's 2 yards away from the goal line, and you can play it into Xavi, and Xavi can play it to Iniesta, and we're on our own penalty spot. But let's play it to Puyol and play a wee bit of passy, and then we'll eventually get it up to Messi to score. But if you're bloody Livingston or Motherwell, and you're going to play that game, roll on. I'm looking at it. I'm thinking, really?
Well, we actually seen it firsthand. I don't know if you remember the Champions League at Parkhead. when Celtic played Man City, and we were just sitting watching the game, and next minute the goalkeeper passed to the centre half about 6 yards away, and I went, what's he doing? And then he passed to him, and they were still in the box passing a bit, and you're going, but the players were never phased or anything. They were so comfortable on the ball. But going back, you know, if I had the ball when I was playing in the centre half, I was going to give him it, he would go, oh, no, you kidding me on?
Yeah.
You know, no, and then you just launched it. But it's good, the possession, if it's done properly and it's done good. And I think Motherwell did it a couple of times. They played it out, and it looked when it works, it's brilliant.
Yeah, can I just say to you, Cammy, how much of it is being brave and how much of it is understanding your players and whether they have the ability to do it?
Yeah, I think there's got to be a fine balance. I think if you're overplaying and you're going nowhere, like sometimes you see teams 8, 9, 10 passes and they're still back at their goalkeeper. Whereas if it's 2, 3 passes, it's up the pitch quick. I think that's the proper way to play. If you've got to miss people out and be a bit longer but still a bit of direction, then that's fine as well. I think it's when it becomes a bit overkill and they're not going any place and teams are starting to squeeze the game and put real pressure on the players, that's when it becomes a different story. But I'm all for playing it if it works and it gets you up the pitch, because you're obviously trying to score at the other end. I think playing 80, 90 yards from your own, well, the opposition goal, I don't always see the benefit of that, but that's just maybe my opinion on it.
Yeah, I can't wait till Davey says to him, listen, this is the way we're going to you play it to Gowser.
He'll shell it. Gowser will shell it.
Did Hibs not do that last year where the centre half actually passed to the goalkeeper?
Oh, they're
I
doing it
remember
this year.
that happened
They're
at
doing it this year.
Easter Road.
Yeah.
I'd love to know the theory behind that.
No, but they're doing it this year. And I mean, apart from anything else, yes, you've got to be brave. Managers want to stick to it. Let's see how many people lose goals out of it. Because quite simply, Motherwell lost a goal out of it because he sclaffed it, Paul McGinn, and Rangers scored from the corner. But I think the more pertinent point is Motherwell still had to defend the corner and could have got themselves organised. With regards to your team, Livingston, there is always a belief, though. I mean, I think they do play some good football at times, and in the end got themselves back in it. Were they worthy of a point in your mind?
Yeah, I think so. I think before Kelly scored their first goal, I think we were more than, I wouldn't say dominant in the game, but I think we were well in the game and looked comfortable enough. But I think the real difference from obviously going up from the Championship is if you lose the ball, you're going to get punished. And I think that's what really kind of killed us first half, was it was two opportunities in which we could have done better. And fair play to Kilmarnock, they capitalised on that. But as you mentioned, the belief in the squad's something that I've noticed, just the day-to-day stuff. It's a real honest bunch of people who every day are pushed, and it comes from that everyday kind of mentality of working to the best you can. I think that, and it paid dividends at the weekend. Yeah,
I'm not going to, I mean, I think it's so difficult, even looking at the game we're just about to talk about, which is Dundee Hibs, but I think it's going to be so difficult to call this season, Ruffy, and I've mentioned it before, because you look at Livingston, they're going to battle. They're not going to be, cannon fodder for anybody, and not going to be what I would call your typical. They're going back down again. I think it's really tough to pick a team this season until we get to September 1st and say, okay, let's see the strength of them going into the winter months. Yeah,
I think you're right, but I mean, sometimes managers use it to their advantage. You know, if it's the likes of Livingston or Dundee or Falkirk, to say everybody's tipping you.
Yeah.
Everybody's tipping you to go down, you know. Do you want to prove them wrong, or do you just want to fall into that category? And then you look for a reaction to say, no, we're not going to be the ones, because it's a long season when you are that one and you're 2 down the bottom and you can't get out of there and the pressure starts mounting. So the more points you pick up early on, the better it is.
Yeah, that's a good. I'm going to read this one out, Tam, because every now and then we like one from Hugh Burns, who says, "What a lovely accent Cammy has. Is that posh Dundee? Montefieth, maybe?" Cammy?
Yeah, well...
Where are you originally from?
Well, I'm Dundee, but I'm down by what people would call the posh end of Dundee, so he's nailed that on, yeah. Montefieth was the school I went to.
Is that right?
Yeah, so...
absolutely. It's quite unusual, because yesterday I saw him outside tanning a few cars. Oh, there's a... Just because he can't get in it too. Can I watch your motor, mister? I thought you're a legend. Have a bit of decency, will you? Brilliant, thanks for that, Hugh. And also a bit of doom and gloom as well from Andrew Forrester, who says one of the Dundee teams will go down. Oof, there you are, hedging his bets on which one is going to go down. I am loath to...
It's too early, Peter. I think you need
yeah.
to wait till the end of the window. Obviously going to speak about the Dundee Hibs game, and listen, I know Elvis well. I've worked with him at Falkirk. I think he's a really, really good manager and a really good person. But he needs to get more. He needs help. He needs more players in. Peter need more quality in. I know they've brought 6 or 7 in, but they still need quality players in. They lost a lot of good players in the summer there. You know, a lot of starters, and a lot of guys went back to their clubs on loan from Tony Docherty's time there. So he needs a hand, and he needs some players in quickly.
That's an understatement, honestly. I mean, I watched the game, Ruffy, and I could not believe what I was watching with Dundee, who are 2-1 down with maybe 10, 15 minutes to go. And they're playing as if they're protecting a lead. I mean, I just could not fathom it out. I mean, if you haven't got the players you want in the team, what you should be demanding of the 11 who are on the park is go and work your guts off and try and close them down and try and look for a mistake. Dundee were just so passive.
Looked that way in the highlights, you know, but then again you've got to say when you're down, or it was 2-1 at that particular time, and your mindset is, do we go for it? Because if you leave yourself open at the back, you can get picked off, you know, but sometimes you've got to take a chance. You're at home, you're in front of your own supporters, but I'm surprised that never happened. But I told you I met wee Gordon in Naples airport, and he said he needed 12 players striking.
Yeah, he's brought
12.
7 in.
No, but he says he needs another 12.
he's not going to get 12 unless they suddenly discover the money from Fabian Caballero and Ravanelli and everybody. But he definitely needs players. Listen, the flip side of it is David Gray delighted because Hibs managed to come off the real disappointment of losing to Michelin in the Europa League, and then suddenly are able to turn it around and go away to Dens Park and get a win. Here's what both managers made of it.
I think it's natural. I think when you look at the changes that's happened at the club, when you look at where we are in the recruitment and the progress, I think it's natural for people to tip us. You know, and we're not going to shout about it. The only way we can prove it is by getting results and improved performances, and we'll certainly be working hard towards that.
I think that's the reason why he was brought to the football club, because of the qualities he's got. You've seen that. I've mentioned a lot about, you know, being suited to Scottish football as well. You know, the physicality, really enjoys that side to the game, and he was always one that was going to benefit from a strong pre-season. We're getting that just now. The confidence levels will be high with the Scottish recognition as well, which is fantastic for him on a personal note. But he's working hard every day. He's getting fitter, he's getting stronger, and really benefiting from a strong pre-season, which is great. Yeah,
David Gray talking about Kieran Bowie, Ruffy. I think we could have a serious contender for a number 9 for Scotland.
Tom tipped him last year. He said if he stays away for the injuries, he saw enough in him, you know, because of the surplus we've got in that level at the Scottish national team. Why not give him a shout? If the ball's falling his way and he's sticking it in the back of the net, you got to give him a chance, and he certainly looks the part.
Yeah, Cammy rolls defenders. He's physical with them, puts himself about.
Yeah. That's the first time I've seen him live, and the size of him, obviously the manager's touched on it there, he's been working hard, getting fitter, getting stronger, and that was evident to see. But I mean, 2 goals as well, could have had 1 or two others. Definitely looks like a top player, and he's only going to get better as well, especially if he is going to be in the national setup, being around players like McTominay, etc., like top players, it's only going to bring him on.
Yeah, I like to look at him. I know you were a big fan last season as well, Tam, but you know, buying in a couple of goals, the manager's kept him on for his hat-trick. Amazingly, it's his first 90 minutes for Hibs, but his first 90 minutes in 2 seasons.
Yeah, he just, unfortunately for him, Peter, he kept picking up injuries. He picked up a real bad hamstring injury away with Scotland 21s just after Hibs had signed him. And but I've always liked to look at him when he came on. It was fitness for me, Peter. He looked constantly knackered last season when he came on. This season, the 2 games against the Midtjylland, he looked tired. He just didn't look fit enough. But that was the first time there at the weekend where he's played 90 minutes, and I thought he's looking fit and strong. And took his goals well, rolls defenders, good player. Both take a lot of confidence from the goals as well. A lot of competition for places at Hibs as well, Peter. We've got a £1 million striker sitting on the bench, can't get in. You know, Eli Yuhan coming on, Martin Boyle. So you've got to be on your toes. You've got to be on your toes at Hibs. If you're a striker, you've got to get in, you've got to do the business, score goals to stay in the team, or you'll be sitting on the bench. So, no, I think if you're a Hibs supporter, you're looking at Kieran Bowie and going, he looks a real deal.
And I think if you're a Hibs supporter and you've just been told you're getting 7 figures for Lewis Miller, you've got the cigars out, because I mean, I can't believe they're getting that for Lewis Miller. I mean, honestly, if they can... I mean, I've asked a few Hibbies at the weekend about Grant Hanley, and they think, oh, that'd be great.
Aye. No, I think that'd be great signing Grant Hanley. I said that on Friday, Peter. I think he's a really experienced player. Still got legs, and Scottish football will suit him. He's very powerful in the air. Lewis Miller, for me, I've never been convinced by him. One week he looks really, really good, and then the next week he looks poor. He's an Australian international, he plays every game for them, so he's obviously got something, Peter, and he's athletic, he can go up and down the pitch, he's a big boy as well, so maybe suits the English Championship. But
that's the word I was looking for. He's athletic.
He's athletic, Peter, he gets up and down the park, and he's good in the air, so it's no surprise for me that Championship team win for him.
You're just yellow, that's your problem. Ruffy, 7 figures for Lewis Miller, you've won a watch.
Yeah, I don't think there's any debate there. I think the Hibs manager would be suggesting that the board take that money. I'm like you, I think there's been some games he's been very, very good, and other games he's a wee bit suspect. So I think obviously the manager's got other players in mind that he would want to bring in, and he probably just decided that he can be surplus.
Yeah, and over and above that, Grant Hanley?
I get where Tom's coming from, you know, all the experience in the world. I've not been a great fan in the Scotland team. I think they lose too many goals in that position. But he'll bring experience, and if that's what Hibs need at the back, I'm not too sure about him and Bashira together.
Yeah.
You know,
Bombscare and Bombscare.
Bombscare and a wee bit of Bombscare.
That's harsh on Bashiri, by the way. That's harsh on Bashiri.
You're a big Bashiri fan, aren't you?
I like him. I don't think he's made any mistakes for a wee while.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, Tom. I think you're right there. He hasn't made...
I think until he makes another one, then you can call him Bombscare, but I think it's harsh to call him a Bombscare now.
He's got a new deal, he doesn't care.
I know, he is.
You know, I mean, at the end of the day, you know, you can only speak... You speak to fans, and you look at it and you see exactly what... Your eyes don't deceive you. He's got a new deal, they love him, they're singing his song, so that's fine. Grant Hanley coming in, I disagree with you on Hanley. I think Hanley's only crime is that players play at certain levels, and Hanley, I think, will be a great addition for Hibs. But at international level, I think we need another level of centre half that you know, sometimes we've, as an international side, have needed to score 2 goals to even get a draw in a game.
Yeah, no, I think I agree with you on the international stage, but as you say, you look at the level he's been at for all these years. He's played down in, you know, Championship, Premier League in England. I think he'll be a really good signing if he does sign. I think he'll bring that professionalism. I imagine, I obviously don't know him, but that professionalism around the place, that they're obviously building a culture at the club, and he'll only add to that. I think it would be a really good signing.
Yeah, I thought Hibs I think it was more to do with Hibs cruising it and Dundee's attitude to being behind. Hibs have got Partizan Belgrade. Do you fancy them to get themselves as important to try and get some kind of positive result?
Yeah, you need to go over there and keep the tie alive, Peter. It's similar to going to Denmark and getting to come back with a 1-1 draw. I don't think they'll be as good as Midtjylland. I think Partizan Belgrade are a big name in European football, but if you look at their results in the last few seasons, then they've not been great. So I think Hibs will be probably underdogs in the tie, but if you can go over there and come back 1 each, maybe even 2-1 defeat, you know, it's game on at Easter Road.
Yeah, just one little bit of defence, I have to say, for Stephen Presley with regards to the fact that he says he needs 12 players, but he did say he needs about 5 or 6 players to come in. And I'll tell you another thing, you know, no Simon Murray in that side makes a huge difference, and he was not playing at the weekend.
Yeah, when you seen the team lineups yesterday and he wasn't involved, I thought they will miss him. He's obviously the captain, was the top goal scorer last year. I think even that we're talking about the kind of Dundee sat so deep, he would have been the one to kind of set things off, or you'd like to think he was the one that set things off, a press, a tackle, because we didn't see that yesterday.
Yeah.
There was not that bite, that energy, that desire to go and make things happen, because that's what gets the crowd going. As much as that sounds so basic, that's the things that gets the crowd on their feet. It cheers you on, it gets you up the pitch, and then that's where you get your wee chances. But they lacked that yesterday. I think Simon obviously is a big part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, from Hibs getting their 3 points, and we wish them well in Europe, as we do all the clubs. The big questions we've always been asking is quite simply, can Falkirk go and play in the Premiership this type of football that we like, that's easy on the eye? Well, they certainly didn't get beat 2-2 against Dundee United.
Yeah, great game, Peter. Great game to watch. Both teams going attacking and trying to win the game, which was refreshing. I thought the atmosphere sounded amazing on the TV. I've played for Falkirk in the Premier League. I know if things are going well, that stadium will be full every week. They're a real passionate support, Falkirk, and the support turned out for them. And listen, I thought their draw was a fair result. I thought Dundee United would be disappointed. They built themselves last season on being really solid defensively, and the goals they lost. The second one's a wee bit unlucky, deflection, but the first one, cut back to the 6-yard box and he puts it in the top corner. But I think Falkirk will be fun to watch this season. I don't think they'll change the way they play. Cammy will know that Livingston had their number a wee bit last season in terms of in the Championship, but I think Falkirk will just go and play the way they play, and I think they've got a lot of quality players in their team.
Yeah.
And I think they'll cause a lot of teams problems.
Interesting you saying that. I'm wondering if anything, whether they'll come a cropper against teams that just want to go and be physical against them.
Yeah, look, as you say, Livy did seem to play well against them last season. I think John McGlynn's very intelligent in what he goes when he'll be able to, I think, mix it up. I see I've actually been at a few games already this season. He was at Tannadice for the European game. He's constantly watching, wee things, set plays and that. I see him taken down. He'll have something in a plan that he'll put out to his players. But will they change? I don't know. I think they will maybe see a different side to them at times. But it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, plan A, plan B, plan C. This is what John McGlynn and Jim Goodwin made of the draw.
I think they looked Premiership players, against Premiership players. So yeah, and we all go to games, and I go to games, and I see games just and I think, I see we can match teams. I think we can match teams. Yeah.
It was only a couple of years ago that this weekend we were travelling to Arbroath to kick off the Championship. In the space of 2 years now, we're sitting here slightly disappointed to pick up a point away from home, but looking forward to a game against Rapid Vienna in Europe next week. So,
I mean, that puts it into perspective, doesn't it, Ruffy? The change for Dundee United is incredible under Jim Goodwin.
Yeah, certainly the player, the way it's changed, for the foreign players coming in. Most of the players in the Championship were probably Scottish or British, but he's got a mindset in what kind of player he wants to bring in. And you're right, a point away from home in this league is good. You don't want to start with a defeat. But as far as Falkirk is concerned, if they continue to play like that, they are going to be a joy to watch. But I do think they have to have a plan B. We saw St Mirren with a plan B at Parkhead, and it nearly worked. I think Falkirk need to show that they've got that in their makeup when they come into bigger games.
I wonder how many times, it'll be interesting to see how many times beyond the hour, Tam, if it's not working, that he substitutes Brian Graham and Scott Arfield.
Yeah, listen, I don't think they're at the stage of their career we're going to play 90 minutes every week. I think they've got to manage them, whether you bring them on for half an hour or you give them an hour. Both of them have still got a lot to offer. But I thought Falkirk, when they brought a little bit more energy on later in the game, they looked better. Not taking anything away from the two guys, but listen, they're quality players, they've still got a lot to offer. But I think that John will manage them cleverly and get the best out of them, whether that's coming off the bench or maybe just subbing them after an hour.
Yeah, they might be the plan B at times as well, Cammy. If anything, Brian Graham scored a barload of goals last season, but he'll find it tougher to escape some of the defenders this season.
Yeah, it's a totally different league. Obviously, Brian's played plenty of games in the SPL. You'll know what it's all about. And again, he's very intelligent himself. You'll know that he might need to mix his game up slightly or things like that. But I'm sure he'll do just fine in that league. But as Tam says, they're not at that stage of the career where you might be able to play 90 minutes every single week.
Yeah, absolutely. You'll have to bear that in mind as the years kick in.
Yeah, so people keep telling me. That's all I get.
You're only 29.
I know. Hopefully plenty of years left.
Years ahead. What age did you chuck it at, Tam?
About 23.
23. He's showing you just
34.
34, and Ruffy was 39. So
goalkeepers can do anything.
Absolutely, but he played right.
Just get in the way.
How many games overall? Did you have 700 odd games, Ruffy?
645 at Thistle.
26 clean sheets.
140 at Hibs.
140. So, God almighty, Ruffy, that was a lot.
6 at Celtic.
Yeah, 6 big games at Celtic. I can't believe you're not in their Hall of Fame, Ruffy. 6 games at Celtic. They were magnificent too. I'll tell you one thing. Couple of things I want to talk about. Obviously, Hearts and Aberdeen, we'll digest that as we go through the week. But Tony Bloom again makes that statement. He was speaking to the foundation of Hearts representatives at a gathering, and he said, you know, the days of Celtic and Rangers being the dominant force.
It's a good thought. It's a good thought, you know, to spice it up a bit. But I don't think his 10 million is going to make any effect at all in Rangers or Celtic, even in 10 years' time. I hope he's right to a certain extent, because we do like a bit of challenge in the league. But I certainly think he'll have to put more money in year on year.
We'd love a third force from somewhere, Cammy, wouldn't we?
Yeah, definitely. Like everyone in Scottish football does want to see it, but I think he's maybe underestimated the challenge of what Scottish football is, as do a lot of people. I don't think they understand how difficult only the league is, but to split the big two, obviously does come down to finances and infrastructure they've got, so it's going to be incredibly difficult, but as you say, it would be interesting to see.
Yeah.
I'd love to know what Derek McInnes's reply to that is. That's put a wee bit of pressure on.
Yeah. Any chance you can shut up? Yeah, listen, never mind plan A, plan B and plan C. If the hurricane keeps going, I'm not quite sure what kind of football anybody wants to watch, because you guys, footballers, hate the wind.
Yeah, it's the one thing you can't play in, Peter's the wind. You know, don't mind the rain and whatever, but the wind ruins the game. Tynecastle's quite a wee enclosed stadium, so it might not be too bad inside that stadium, rather than a stadium that would be wide open. But I don't see them cancelling the game now with a lot of Aberdeen fans and Hearts fans travelling.
Yeah,
I think it'll be on.
Okay, prediction?
2-1 to Hearts.
2-0 Hearts.
Yeah. Jambo's?
I'm going to go 2-1 Aberdeen. Yeah.
Okay. Have you got family in Aberdeen?
No, I don't know. No, I don't know.
There's always an angle.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I just think that Jimmy Tulane, I think he's had his year to understand what it's about. I think Hearts have signed a lot again, have they bedded in potentially, but the opposition haven't been SPL just yet.
Yeah. Listen, the other thing I was going to say to you, Cammy, is we've absolutely loved having you on the show, and hopefully we'll get you back in when you're fit and actually playing, which would be brilliant.
Crossed,
the other thing about it is we might as well get a wee flavour for you. Who's your favourite Dundee player of all time?
Barry Smith's my favourite. Barry Smith, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, no, he genuinely is, yeah. Because he was a captain in that team that...
Would do Barry at Dundee, aye.
Absolutely, great lad as well.
Aye.
Sorry, I can't believe I used that catchphrase.
Good lad.
He's a good lad. But he is a good lad. Barry Smith, which is great. You'll be heartened by that. Best game you've ever seen Dundee play?
Oh, God, now you're... Don't know, it'd be a Dundee derby. Stevie Lovell maybe scored the winner.
Yeah.
2-1 against United, Nacho Novo as well. That's just one that sticks out. That's maybe a bit knee-jerk, but yeah, I'd say that.
Got me getting sent off for half in Barry Robson.
I'll take that as well. Damn, I'll go with that.
Yeah, you just remembered that. Well done to you. Because the other great thing about the programme, Ruffy, and as we mentioned to everybody, it's absolutely free to watch the football show, and we hope you enjoy the fact that we bring on players and managers from all the clubs, Ruffy. Everybody gets fair coverage right across the board. We try and, obviously, Celtic and Rangers are going to dominate because of their place in Europe and domestically, but we get players and managers from everywhere coming on and sitting on the sofa and giving us their insight.
Yeah, that's a good thing about it, and even the guys who comment, they're not all Rangers and Celtic, they're from most of the other clubs as well. They all like talking about their club, which is good. I remember being in the olden days when the boy kept phoning up and saying, not to hear, all you do is talking about Rangers and Celtic, and I said to him, well, what team do you support? And he says, well, my mother will support, and I said, well, what do you want to say? And he went, oh, nothing.
Kind of sums it up brilliantly. It's absolutely free to watch. If you get a chance, you want extra and of course exclusive content, as well as some prizes and lots of gifts and lots of great stuff to watch 7 days a week, you can hit the subscribe to our premium channel as well, and we'll keep you right up to date going throughout the season with all the additional programming that we're going to bring to you from everybody. I think you'll echo my statements on this. You might not, but from everybody on PLZ Soccer, one of our old teammates, Ruffy, has managed to get the job as the new Rangers manager. Good luck to Leanne Crichton.
Fantastic, yeah. We were the first person to take upon women's football, and Leanne was in with us right at the start before anybody else knew her capabilities, and she's just went on from strength to strength, and I think that would be a good appointment.
Yeah, absolutely. Another PLZ starter, Tam. There's so many.
This is Pep Guardiola, didn't he? Bringing all these reporters through.
Cammy, you give them their chance.
I know. I'm his ear. I know.
You know, exactly. And of course, by the way, sometimes, Cammy, when people are booted out of a club and they think they're on the scrap heap, sometimes you give them a chance as well, you know. And Tam, we took you on the BBC's losses again, getting Tam as well. Good luck to Leanne. Thank you to you for joining us on the programme. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Join Kerry tomorrow with Ruffy, and Brian Graham will be on the football show at 4 o'clock as well. From everybody here, thanks for listening and watching.